Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of High Heels to Happy Feels from Immersive Spirit. I'm Stephanie,
I'm Natalie.
and this week we're talking about something that a lot of high achievers will avoid, and that is radical receptivity. So it's the art of letting things come to you without chasing it down, right? But the secondary part of that is the art of not pushing when you're not ready to do something. And what does that look like? So being radically receptive to everything around you and then thinking about, you know, what makes you squirm? What is that? And what is that that's making you squirm right now? Well, if these are things that you've been thinking about, you are totally in the right place. And
Yeah.
we made a big shift on this, so I'm going to let Nat go with that.
Well, it's so funny. Like we mentioned in our last few podcasts, um, we really it's kind of crazy how our podcasts and like our cards of the day and everything aligns. Like we don't plan this out, folks, but it's so anyway. But really, really good and on point because most of us have learned to overfunction to really feel safe or to be successful. Like if you just work harder, you'll be worthy. Or if you chase everything down, that you're going to prove that you deserve it. But there's really something about that because what is really meant for us doesn't need to be forced, it just needs to be received. And in that receiving, I'm not talking about like it's not passive. It's one of the hardest disciplines that any of us is ever going to do. It's slowing down, it's holding space for what we really don't know and just trusting that you don't have to overwork for everything that's aligned. And we have really experienced that a lot, especially this week. We've had a kind of a reset, and Immersive Spirit has been focusing on like, what are we going to do? What's going to be how do we help people? How do we bring things forward? And we really love astrology. So we are really going to start bringing astrology into our podcast only for the basis of the week ahead to kind of give folks an alignment of how to be better at ease. We're not saying that like stars are going to define your path and stuff. You can talk more about that, but it can give us some matters of ease. So maybe we kick off with that.
Yes, I totally agree. And you're right. And we'll get into more details about things that as we go through this, right? But we want to talk astrology first because it is astrology and paranormal are our jam. And so that is where our focus is shifting and or our priority is shifting. Not that we won't offer everything else, but we'll talk more about that. But for the astrology this week, we're going to dig in and we actually like you mentioned, because this is becoming a more predominant thing in how we express for our audience and for people that are close to us and those that want to be part of immersive spirit or just know more, um that's what we're going to be focusing on. So the astrology moment is going to be a little bit more than a moment going forward.
It's going to be a lot. Not that we don't love spirit and our intuition, and we absolutely work and teach that too, as well as like manifesting and all the other things. But yeah, astrology helps us live a little more at ease.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just dig into this week. And we're gonna, Natalie and I'll actually go back and forth a little bit on this just because, like I said, there is more.
It's a
So
lot.
it is a lot. And going through all the different numbers, and we know, and just talking with, we had a member meeting this morning with someone on the foundations program and just talking about the energy. And it's like, is everything vibrating? Is everything? And yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because this week we're kicking off with this is like June 15th, and I'm talking about kind of the beginning of the week to start, right? And it's all emotional growth and it's meeting your reality. So we have deep emotional undercurrent thanks to that Jupiter in early Cancer right now. So, because we've just moved Jupiter into Cancer here recently. And that was what, like June 9th. And so over the next year, because Jupiter does stay in Cancer for a full year for that 12-month, just over 12-month time frame, we're all being called to grow in our emotional intelligence, connection, and to truly nurture us, to nurture ourselves. So, whether that's your family, your home, or your own inner peace. On June 15th, we're met with a little bit of a challenge because Jupiter is going to square Saturn. And that can feel like a super reality check because Jupiter wants to expand, but Saturn's going to remind us to slow down, get real, make sure that dreams have a really solid plan, right? So what's your action plan? Because if you're trying to leap ahead into something, you need to pause and ask yourself, is this sustainable? And we will talk to you about decisions we made this morning that we are like, oh, of
Well,
course,
yeah,
that's
some of us
exactly
are
right.
starting to feel that energy kind of starting to vibrate towards us
Right.
anyway.
And it's right now. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay. Well, so it might as well be squaring Saturn now because we had our reality check this morning. And so we are slowing down and we did go into sustainability. And that's exactly what you need to be talking about. This is a cue to balance your bigger vision and work in a grounded action towards that. Now, on that same day, June 15th, we've also got a kind of an explosive one because Mars is going to be in Leo and it is squaring Uranus in Taurus. It's going to bring shakeups. It's going to bring surprises. If you are on our email list already, you get weekly updates, and you already knew that in coming weeks and in conversations we've been having with people, that the middle of the month is going to be a little rough. It's going to ignite some exciting things. It's going to also flare potentially frustrations for you. So maybe ego clashes. And so, because it just is square is a friction. So you have to think of something when it's square and it's on that opposite line that it's just, it provides that friction point. I mean, I think we talked about this last week, right now, that with the political things that were happening with the big, beautiful breakup, I think it's being called.
Right.
Which just slays me. But that was a square day. If you look at it, you can go back and look, there was a giant friction going on that day. And so you got to stay flexible. Don't act on impulse. Um, just that change of direction is going to be exactly what you need to align with your truth. Just know that it's coming. What's really cool then is that the sun in Gemini is flowing it's going to be flowing in trine to Pallas, which is an asteroid, right? Pallas Athena in retrograde on Aquarius June 15th as well. So that's going to bring some of that mental clarity, a little bit of the strategic brilliance. So a great time to brainstorm and zoom out. Look at things at the bigger picture. So if you like doing that macro zoom and kind of stepping back at the 36,000 foot level and saying, what's this all look like? Really good opportunity to do that. And then the day will actually wind down June 15th. The moon's, I mean, 15th, big day, as you can see. Moon's
Yeah.
gonna move into Pisces. So we're going to soften up. Pisces, as you know, is intuitive, or as if you don't, but Pisces is intuitive, so it's going to soften the edges. Your emotions will run very deep. Intuition is going to be very strong. There's going to be a big call, though, to just rest and release, um, and create things that are heart-based for you. Because that early week, you're going to need a break. You're going to need a nap because the early week is big planning, a lot of emotional insight, a little bit of ego, a little bit of clash and friction, and then you're going to need to just kind of nudge yourself to intentionally slow down and get intentional with your plans. So Nat, I'm going to move it to you for midweek now.
Yeah, and I will. I'll do the midweek. But just so folks kind of know, when you're thinking friction, that doesn't friction is where we get our growth. It's where
Oh,
we hit a
absolutely.
line and we pivot or we change directions or and
Right? It's kind of like the Fool card in tarot. Or
right.
people assume, oh, the Fool. It's like, no, it's a change. It's a shift. And so friction, though it may seem traumatic, it may seem ego based sometimes, it may seem like things flare up. It's also that opportunity for growth and change.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And when Steph and I are talking about astrology, for maybe because we're kind of astrology nerds, we do look at asteroids. So we're going to bring those in and trines and squares and trine. And Steph kind of has already covered the squares pretty well with the friction. And trines are just kind of when things are flowing a little easier. So if you hear us use those terminology, because again, we're nerds.
Yep.
Anyway, midweek, let's talk about that. We're going to pivot from the chaos of everything we've just talked about to a little more clarity. And that's because on the 18th, kind of the 17th, Mars is going to enter Virgo. And this is likely going to switch from the fire to the laser focus, Virgo Mars wants results, but it wants them done right. So use this energy to clean up your calendar and recommit to your health routines. Bring order to any part of your life that is starting to feel a little chaotic, which coming out of that energy that Steph was just talking about could be a lot, but it is a great transit for being productive without burning yourself out. And we talked about burnout, I think, last week or the week before.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's going to be an amazing day. Let's get past the 15th and move on into that Virgo transit. But then on June 18th, we're going to hit another kind of foggy moment, and that's Jupiter in Cancer, and it's going to square Neptune in Aries. So this is that classic kind of rose-colored glasses transit. You might be tempted to believe something that isn't fully rooted in reality, which sometimes can be our escapism. So just be mindful of promises, especially ones that are spiritual or emotional areas. The key here is to dream, but double check the details and stay connected to your values and your intuition. Don't get swept up in the fantasy. And also on the 18th, Mercury in Cancer is going to trine Juno retrograde in Scorpio. That's a lot of words, and hold that thought, we'll come back. But it's a beautiful aspect for revisiting relationship commitments and emotional agreements. And with Juno in retrograde, we're not just forming new bonds, we're kind of reassessing how we show up for people who matter to us. So there may be things like old conversations resurfacing or deeper truths may come to light in your established relationships and partnerships. So if something has felt out of sync, this energy is going to support that honest and heartfelt reflection to realign. And on top of that, and this is just midweek, folks,
Yep.
that same day the moon is moving into Aries. And the moon gets really bold and direct. So you may feel an uptick in your own energy and motivation, but don't rush it. This is all about receiving, right? This whole podcast is about receiving. This moon placement is great for taking initiative, though. So kind of keep that emotional impulsivity in check. And then I think that's kind of it for our midweek, but I know I said hold that thought, but I've got spirit brain, so I like drop things. What were we just talking about that I said hold that thought? Oh,
Probably the trine in Juno.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah, the Juno. So, yeah, it's just a lot of words. But that's a callback to that nice aspect as part of the asteroids and retrograde stuff. Can we talk about retrograde for a second?
Yes,
Just
please.
in.
Yeah.
Um, go ahead. I'm actually going to take a sip of water.
Okay, yeah. So retrograde is, a lot of people will say you always people know Mercury retrograde. Oh, Mercury's retrograde and computers don't work and phone calls are weird and things hang up and power goes out and blah 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 because it messes electronics. And they think it's in reverse. It's because it's the appearance when you're looking at the stars, it looks like they're moving backward because it's a shift. So they tend to, the planet will step back. And so, like where Mercury would move. So, for example, right now, like talking about the moon, of course, the moon's not going to retrograde anything, but the moon naturally moves every 2.5 days or so into its next zodiac, what we think of as the zodiac. So, we know, like, for example, the moon going into Aries. Now, if and Aries is your first, right? Whereas your chart, if you're looking astrologically, ends with Pisces. So if you use Mercury as an example there, Mercury would have the appearance, say it's in Aries, it would have the appearance that it's going back into Pisces because it looks like it's shifting backwards, right? Because of just directions and the way all the planets are moving and everything. But it does then shift personas because it does impact everybody, right? There are certain aspects of Pisces, aspects of Mercury, aspects of just different placements and where they are. So when you're going from something that is very energetic and powerful and da 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 and Aries, and then taking something and putting it back into something like Pisces, now we're back into intuition, introspection, soft, you know, in it,
Well,
yeah.
those are the really good times. And I think you mentioned this a lot. Like when we're retrograding, it's like a revisit. I take that time to kind of do any kind of shadow work or things that have come up.
Yes.
And I think that's a really probably for everybody.
I agree. And it's a good time to do that because you are in that backward, right? So you have a chance. It is a revisit. That's exactly what it is. It's a chance to revisit something before it actually goes back the other direction and goes what we call direct again. So when it goes back into direct, then it's going forward and moving forward. So you're progressing. So it's
Start that
almost a
march.
chance. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just start the march.
Start the march. That's a good way to put it. I like it. And with that, we're going to march to the end of the week. So, what's really cool, the 20th and 21st. So, June 20th, summer solstice, woo, which is like one of my very favorite Sabbaths. I
Woo.
love summer solstice, midsummer. Now, if you are one of our amazing people on the other side of the world, welcome to Yule because it's right around the corner for you. I will say that if you are a member of our Immersive Spirit Town Square, we will be having a summer solstice celebration. It's not going to be an event on our website. It is only going to be available to our community. So if you have not joined the Immersive Spirit Town Square, right now it's still only $7 a month. Just throwing that little plug in there until the 21st, just because we do have a lot of content that everybody gets for included in that cost. And you can join our summer solstice event on the 20th,
Yay.
but we'll have details out on that. But June 20th, summer solstice. So the sun officially moves into Cancer, which is my sister's birth, her
Yay
zodiac.
me.
Yay, her. We're moving into that season of softness. And it's all about the home, heart-centered living. It's that love and cush and things that are all home and hearth, right? It's a time to go inward, reflect on what you feel and where you feel, I guess I should say, emotionally safe and really fulfilled. This solstice is a powerful portal for us because it's ideal for setting those soulful intentions around your family, around healing, and around that security. And you're celebrating the summer in terms of the Northern Hemisphere. Now, if you are in the Southern Hemisphere and joining us from there, first, welcome. How are ya? Down under, shrimp on the barbie. I suck at all that, and I'm really sorry for being insulting. But Yule now is also introspective, right? Because it is your darkest day of the year. Whereas the solstice for us is the very lightest day of the year here as we celebrate. On the other side, it's they're going into their darkest day. It's winter. And so, but it's still a time of reflection. It's still a time of introspection, and it is still a time of some family thinking because you're around all of those moments in Yule. So, thinking about that. Also on the 20th, the moon is moving into Taurus, giving us a big old grounded and very sensual vibe. We've just come out of that Aries and the fire, right? We were already talking about the energy and fire. And the Taurus moon is now saying, okay, kick it down, slow down, get cozy, enjoy the moment. Um, you're mixing that in with that Cancer sun. I mean, that's just a good vibration for your internal heart. That's what that's screaming for. So cook something delicious. Go walk barefoot in the grass. Get back to the very basics of the things that feed your soul and make you happy. It's a beautiful time for that emotional stability. We close the week on the 21st with it's a subtle alignment, but it's a powerful one. And that's Mercury, which is going to, Natalie already talked about trines, but Mercury in Cancer is going to trine the north node, which will be retrograde in Pisces. This retrograde motion, it's going to emphasize reflection and recalibration around your soul path and your soul purpose. So it's less about charging forward, as Nat was talking about with those retrogrades, and more about gently realigning with where you're truly meant to go. So pay attention to the inner nudges.
Well,
Oh,
and there's so much in all the statements you've just done because North Node is the sole purpose. So that's what that one means.
yeah.
But like it's happening in like alignment with a full moon. Because if you think about like the summer solstice, that is the full, we have worked from Yule in the northern hemisphere up into this solstice, which is the full moon. And so, sorry, I'm just thinking like the big
No,
picture
right,
of
and
all of
that's
it.
Sabbath wise. So what she's
Right,
talking
right.
about, because even though we just had our full moon, so don't get confused with the
Oh, sorry, yes.
because you see it in the sky, but the full moon in terms of the wheel of the year. So we are just coming from the very darkest, which is your waning, which is Yule, and this is our very brightest. So it's if you're looking at a wheel of the year perspective on all of this, we have just come through our half part and gone through the entire waxing build up to our full moon, which is the solstice. And then we will begin waning again. And as we go into the harvest moon and as we move into, Samhain, which is Halloween, October 31st. And then as we move back into Yule, which is our dark moon again. So, yeah, great call
It
out.
just seemed like a huge culmination with this, sole purpose as part of
I
this.
did-
And
Oh my gosh, right? And we hadn't even talked about that part of it, but it's true. And so it's a great reference to just bring out the wheel of the
yeah,
year
sorry.
and the
Moving
Sabbath.
on.
No, good, good. So thinking about this, just reminding yourself that this trine, which is the softer, right? And the easier part of it in terms of the aspects of astrology, it is in that north node, which is the retrograde. So thinking of the backwards, right? So that means go back, re-examine and reflect, recalibrate, and thinking about what's guiding your soul. And is Mercury being in Cancer is really speaking from the heart. Pisces is inviting that spiritual listening. So trust the feelings behind the words. So I'm just going to say this week in a nutshell. I'm just going to give you some quick bullets, and I know that was a lot of information, but you can pause and play it back, and you can tell we found a hot topic and that we have found our soul. Only because Natalie and I are incredibly animated, and we haven't been this animated in a while in a podcast, and we recognize that, and so we're sorry you're having to listen to us ramble, but we're not sorry too. All right, the week in a nutshell. Balance your big dreams with the practical steps. Expect energetic shifts. Respond with intention, not impulse. Act, don't react. Focus on what feels aligned, especially around the solstice. Let truth, not fantasy, guide your next move. And then stay centered and stay inspired. And remember, growth doesn't always look like forward motion. Sometimes it looks like coming home to yourself. And I am going to let that bring into my next comment because Nat, you and I talked about this. And
Yeah.
this was our aha. We had it this morning. There was a life shift for us personally, which sorry, we're not going to share those details, but we had a life shift and we were like, why did we start Immersive Spirit?
Yeah.
What are our favorite topics of all? We have all these courses we love, and don't get me wrong, there's certain triggers for us, though, and that's the paranormal investigations we do. That's our astrology, and that is our version of what we have learned from Wicca and witchcraft over 30 years and 35, 40, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Hey, slow down on the calling out the years.
Right?
Okay.
All right, 10. All right. So, but
5.
but with that, I want you to talk about what we're referring to during these podcasts as our spirit moments, because this was a gigantic aha moment for us this morning.
Well, and it's kind of funny because a lot of you know that we do like the energy of the day, which I didn't get done yesterday because yesterday was kind of the shifting moment, which we should have been a little bit prepared for because we've been talking about this period of time for weeks, if not months.
Right? We said it was coming,
Like,
and yet, oh no, it's coming for everybody else,
right.
not us.
But we're we're always
Oh,
in service to others, so it's always about others. It's always about others. And when it came in and hit us upside the head, we're like, oh. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense because that's what it's been telling us is coming all along. And it doesn't just show up like when we're performing for it, because we're always in service and we're always trying to make sure that spirit is part of that service and all of that. It's not performance to us, but it is kind of our job. It is our calling, so that's what we do. But it speaks loudest to us when we're not overreaching. So that's a lot of words just to say that we're always in service, not always paying attention to ourselves. So we weren't really paying attention to like the things that were coming in for us. So this week, just try to do more to feel more and sit in stillness and place your hands open with your palms up and whisper that you don't have to chase things and that you're just open to receiving. And Steph and I sat with that this morning as we were thinking about the podcast and what to say. And as we were sitting with that, we're like, we we have stretched ourselves so thin to try to make sure that everything we know we can share with others. We know a lot. Stephanie just mentioned how many years that we've been working in spirituality for ourselves, and us trying to get everything across is well, yeah, we can help you with this and this and this and this and this. Yeah, we can and we want to because we want to be in service to others. But our passion lies in the paranormal, in working for the dead and the living and making sure that there's a balance there. So when people are afraid or people are unnerved by something, we can come in and help because we're psychic mediums. We bring it from a different place. And working with astrology because when you know and the wheel of the year because when you know the energies that are around you, it can make your day easier. It can change your thought pattern. And so Steph and I really stepped back and we're like, this is what we're going to focus on. So if you visited our webpage before, you're going to notice that there's stuff missing. Like we don't offer our manifesting courses anymore. Not that we aren't great manifestors, not that we don't want to help others manifest, but we really want to be able to focus where our passion is so you feel our passion when we talk. And
Yes.
that's where we want to be.
Yes. And like our, everything that we offer is include like the foundations, the annual course, which we know is pricey, but those that take it understand the value because of how much is there. And our love when we speak is the crystals, is the magic, is the spells, is the paranormal, and is the astrology. And it is so easy to see. And for us, that magic, it's it's got to be a part of what we do and what we live.
Yeah.
And the manifesting is a part of that. Absolutely. But there are so many different things out there about manifesting. And it's like we love it, but is it like passionate scream about it like we just did with astrology where we for like 100 miles an hour, which we did. But for us, it's thinking, so getting into thinking of like our weekly magical stuff, it's not about what you do. It's about what you allow. And we were overcommitted and we're now pausing and saying no more of that. So it's taking that magic is pausing and honoring ourselves first and saying, no, we're not overcommitting with every single breath before saying yes. Have we thought about it? And before we say anything too quickly, it's like, but is that we know a lot of other people that can help with it too, in case it's not us and it's not our right time, or we are busy with paranormal, taking people out on investigations or doing a lot of energy clearings, or involved in those things. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, it's trusting. It's absolutely trusting what's finding you. That's the magic.
Yeah.
And this morning we nailed it for ourselves. And yay us. And yay you. Because for those that are tied with us and that want to learn more about paranormal and want to learn more about astrology, and yes, we still have, or even the witchcraft, because we have a lot of different things that we
Well,
offer on the tarot.
yeah, anything in energy, we support.
Anything energy, even your intuition, because we do coaching and we will coach and help you get to where you are open because everyone has that. It's not a gift and it's ability. It's totally an ability everyone possesses. And so we will absolutely coach and help. And we do have courses, but it's not going to be our primary. And that was part of this whole receptivity, right? We are practicing what we're preaching,
Absolutely.
right? So I will just say when you're if a receptivity practice for you as we kind of try to wrap this up and not talk maybe about the business so much, but practice that you can take for yourself so that you have this moment because the aha for us was tearful a little bit this morning because it was like, wow, the amount of hours that she had in that manifesting course made me cry to hide it. Um, but we both kind of laughed at the same time. Do you feel better?
Right.
I mean, that was cord cutting at its finest, boys and girls. It
Well, and
really
that was
was.
the Me Talks card from today. We took that
Yes,
literally. We're like getting stuff done and we're seeing that gate in front of us and
yep,
we're walking on that path.
yes,
We
yes,
don't we don't just preach it. We this is what we practice every day in
every
and
day.
out.
Today was just a giant one, but yes, we do. It was big, but it was also like, I mean, I'm sitting straighter. I feel like, oh yeah, woo, yeah, control, right? And control's perceived, of course, but still. So
Right.
receptivity practice, like what you've been chasing, or sorry, not like. Yes, you do. You do need to like it, but what you actually have on your list. So I want you to first list everything you've been chasing or that you've been trying to force, right? So not just thinking about it as something you want to do, but what have you been just chasing down and trying to force that situation to happen? And then next to each one, I want you to write down, I release the chase. I'm open to receive. And then for that final step, choose one small thing to let come to you this week without over forcing it, without over functioning it, without just trying to cram it in there and see what's going to happen. But just narrow your focus. And if that means letting go or letting go for now or releasing some of those other things, be open to that. Be open to that.
Yeah, because ultimately you do not have to push harder
So
and
true.
there's nothing that you need to prove or even overprove. Um, because your path is your path and you don't have to chase what's already on its way. And if we do have free tools, of course, because we're always going to mention that. There's the embodiment pack at Immersive Spirit Living, and that can be helpful in this area because truly today's energy and moving into tomorrow, where all that friction and squares and all of the things that we're about to go through that we talked about, it is a really good time to take a 36,000-foot view of your own life and clear your garden. And that's the garden of your friends and your family and those you allow to be in your inner circle and pull out the weeds because we are choosing our path and we are choosing the things that we get to have around us. It's a great day to declutter, clean your cupboards, um, make sure that everything that you have around you is aligned to where you want to go because that's the kind of vibe and the kind of energy you want to keep close. Everything else, donate it. Give it to somebody else who might need that energy.
Oh, I love it. It's soul-led living, folks, and it's what we do. It's what,
Yeah, that is our passion.
absolutely.
All right.
Throw in our offer that we're going to do too that we decided on this morning for the Mystic Report.
Um, okay, so I don't have the words like I'm
Oh,
still having a mental moment
okay,
with
nope.
everything else.
I'll just throw this in and then have you
Okay.
wrap up. The Mystic Report, if you haven't been to our website to check it out, it we take your birthday and the day, all those details we create and from your natal chart that we use, and then using our intuitive abilities and because we are psychic mediums, right? So we're tapping into that and we're creating basically an entire mystic blueprint for you for your year ahead. That includes your journal prompts. It includes or meditations you can use. We've actually got suggested resources for you in there. We tag in your numerology and how that fits into things so that you know those life numbers and what that looks like based on your sun, based on your moon, based on your ascendant. And we look at that whole big picture and we put everything together for you. And we give you soul pillars, or not your soul. I'm thinking of the soul pillars still. We give you uh your seculars, right? So thinking about what spiritually that looks like for you and what could you be doing there that you'd really thrive at, or claircognizance maybe is a big one for you. And then we're going to break it down even further. We're adding a whole new layer to this, where we're going to focus on a lot of your everyday essential things living. So, what's an ideal partner? What's a romantic partner maybe look like for you? Or what does, and we're not going to say, oh, he's 6'3", or she's this, or they are that, and we're not going to do that. But we are going to give you an idea of based on your chart who who isn't a good mate and what is a good job and what are those things. So it's an incredible thing. It's generally $150. We have recently raised the price because it does take us hours and hours and hours to put together, and it should be a lot more money in my opinion. But
Ah, ah,
but that's just because I know how we are and how meticulous we are, and we go through
right.
and we read and yeah. Anyway, but it's going to be half price. So
Wow.
we're offering that for 50% off. And now I'll shut up and let you take.
Yeah, no, which is so I want to put it kind of in a nutshell because we've talked about how Steph and I have done this work for this week and we're kind of in that prep. And when we were aligning with our soul, so in our corporate job, we do recommendations, we do consulting, we do management consulting, we align organizations with how they're going to grow their money and their strategy. And we're like, we've been doing that for as long as we've been working in spirituality and the soul led and the astrology and the numerology. Why don't we bring those things together? So this mystic group, it's kind of amazing because we really do a huge deep dive in your astrology. And then we bring our intuitive selves to do that consulting work. And it's kind of an amazing report when you get the outcome. So
Yeah, like anywhere from 15 to 20 pages. So
it's a
you've been
lot, but
you've
we
been
love
warned.
it.
You've been warned. Yeah.
All right. So moving on. All right, next week we're going to talk about the fire and the growth that really nobody wants to talk about because growth is like sometimes kind of brutal as we're experiencing this week. So next week we're going to revisit it and we will see you then. I'm Natalie
I'm Stephanie.
and we will see you next week. But open your hands, trust the space. You're allowed. We give you permission. Talk
Yeah.
to you soon.